Hi guys, welcome back, and today I'll be doing the next part for What If King Cold went to Namek instead of the Ginyu Force, and I don't really want to waste too much time. Like I have said in one of my other scripts, I don't know which one's coming out first. I really love Super, and I'm just looking forward to getting into it. I just like a lot of things about Super. I know it's something some people hate and some people love, and I understand it's not perfect, but God, I love it. And speaking of gods, let's get into battling them, shall we? Now, for the most part, the beginning of this arc goes pretty much the same, besides a few small changes. We don't see Goku's training off at King Kai's planet. In fact, he's training in the gravity chamber with Vegeta, with Goten and Trunks also being in there, having a little bit of a light-hearted spar. And after a few minutes, they head out and begin to celebrate, with Goku interacting with everyone, and Vegeta also sort of lurking around Goku, interacting with everyone in a much Vegeta-like fashion. With him looking Mardy like Vegeta does, however, it's very obvious he is having a good time. However, after a few minutes of celebrating, Goku and Vegeta are both contacted by King Kai, who warns the two about the incoming threat of Beerus. With Vegeta remembering the god, he sort of has a bit of a moment where he begins to panic, and Goku, taking interest in fighting a god, is sort of prodding King Kai a little bit, trying to find out a little bit about him. However, after King Kai goes nuts at Goku, telling him not to, Goku does take this to heart. And it's also followed by Vegeta giving Goku some ideas of what Beerus is and what he does. And thanks to the fact that Goku and Vegeta are closer, Goku does promise not to ask Beerus for a fight, after understanding the threat which is Beerus. Now, a few minutes after the two have finished their conversation and the two have spent their time searching around looking for Beerus, the cat soon arrives, and for the most part, things here go quite well, with Goku helping Vegeta keep everything in order, and even filling in the likes of Gohan, helping make sure that everyone is kept under control. And things go quite nicely. With Boo not being here, Beerus almost completely forgets what he's here for. And just for a bit of fun, the bingo gag is still done. However, this time there is two participants, being both Goku and Vegeta. Goku sort of having a laugh about this, and Vegeta wanting to rip his own face off. And, like I said, Beerus has almost completely forgot what he's here for. Until a certain World Martial Arts champion asks him to fight. See, Mr. Satan had probably drunk a little bit too much at this point, and he jokingly asked Beerus for a fight, with Beerus not taking this too seriously, and soon remembers what he is here for. And he asks all the Saiyans if there is a Super Saiyan God amongst them, as he would love to have a fight with them. With Goku shouting out that he can try fill in the role, with Vegeta looking at Goku enraged, with Goku saying how he promised not to ask Beerus for a fight, but he asked for the fight, before snickering a bit and heading off towards Beerus. Beerus thinking that maybe Goku might be an interesting fight, the two get ready to fight, flying up into the air away from the ship, with everyone watching Goku showing off his power. Goku eventually jumps up to his Super Saiyan 2 state, explaining how he doesn't know what this Super Saiyan God is, but he's willing to fight Beerus to try and, have a good round. Beerus is a bit upset about this fight, however, he does find this kind of amusing. After all, Goku is willing to have a battle with him, which is kind of rare for Beerus. And this fight here goes a bit like the fight between Goku and Beerus in canon on King Kai's planet, with Beerus very easily defeating Goku. And Beerus is upset that Goku isn't the Super Saiyan God, with Goku being given a bit of time to heal from Tien, and Beerus expressing his boredom, and explains how he is upset that there is no Super Saiyan God. But he explains how he isn't going to destroy the planet. After all, he's got to try some food, he got to try a bit of the culture, he's pretty happy with the results this planet gave off. He's now looking for Whis to try and leave and, just go back home to having a bit of a nap. But he might only have a small one, just to come in and check on this Saiyan, or, all of them. They all seem kind of interesting, plus the food is incredible here. But before he manages to leave, he's soon cut off by Goku, who is fully back up to health, and gotten a bit of a Zenkai, with Goku explaining how they could always ask Shenron about this Super Saiyan God, with this getting Beerus' attention, and making everyone there freak out a bit. But everyone is also sort of interested. Well, everyone from the likes of Gohan, Vegeta, even Goten and Trunks are sort of interested in what this is, and they all want to learn a little bit about the form. Now, Goku does know the fact that Bulma has all the Dragon Balls on the ship, for the bingo prize. After all, Goku probably got made to collect them with Vegeta. They probably made it a bit of a match to see who could collect the most in the shortest amount of time. With them making the wish like normal and finding out how the ritual works, this part goes pretty much like normal, with Goku being stronger out of the two full-blooded Saiyans, thanks to the fact he just got a small Zenkai from this little brief battle he had with Beerus. Like normal, everyone finds out about Vidal's pregnancy, and eventually Goku achieves the God form, with this fight going a lot like it did in canon. However, it's a much more light-hearted fight, thanks to the fact that Beerus stated a few minutes ago that he would not destroy the planet, and this has just been taken as a fun sparring session for both participants. With the battle ending a bit closer in Goku's favour, I would say at this point Goku and Vegeta are quite a significant amount stronger than their canon counterparts. Even Goku missed the 7 years of training in Otherworld. I believe the time he spent training with Vegeta during the downtime has really helped him grow, and probably even surpass his canon counterpart. Now, things here line up like they did with canon, with Vegeta ending up at some point after a few months going to train with Whis. However, this time, instead of going off alone, he brings Kakarot with him. And this is only thanks to the fact that Goku and him have been training together for years, and he just so happens to be around the Moron Saiyan when he asks Whis to take him training. Vegeta would have asked Goku to go with him if he wasn't there. Vegeta isn't so hell-bent on overtaking Goku at this point. Vegeta is more inspired to try and find his way to surpass Goku in training with him. After all, they've both grown plenty of strong with training with each other. And like I said, they are now both heading off to Beerus' planet at the same time as Vegeta did in canon, meaning Goku's actually arriving there quite a significant amount sooner. Now, like I said, a lot of things here would probably line up with canon, with the resurrection of Frieza happening, where one small change happens. He isn't brought back to life on Earth, but is resurrected on planet Namek, which was never moved years ago, thanks to the fact that both the demons never really got a chance to destroy the planet. So they were just left there, just sort of getting ready for anything. And thanks to the fact that Nail was there and he was relatively strong, it meant that most attacks on the planet weren't really working. However, when the Frieza Force decided they wanted to revive their, leaders, they knew they had the safer bet of Namek. After all, Earth has just got so many more powerful warriors. Nail has probably kept up training, but he's probably nowhere near the likes of even Goten. So I believe it's pretty safe to say that Namek is the safer bet for the forces of Frieza, with it taking them a few years to get to the point where they were able to defeat Nail, and eventually they do, not killing him, but using him as a bargaining tool, with them arriving on Namek, defeating him thanks to the likes of Captain Ginyu, who had become the main leader of the Force at this point in time, and explaining how they will kill every Namekian on this planet if they don't bring back Lord Frieza and King Cold, with them promising to keep the planet Namek alive, and even letting this pesky Namekian live, with this obviously being Nail. Now, Namekians, after a while of contemplating, do eventually do this. They do remember the terrors of Lord Frieza and King Cold. However, they also remember that Goku and Vegeta will probably arrive, or at some point murder these two again. So they're pretty confident that they can leave this. And they do eventually make this wish, bringing back both Frieza and King Cold, with the two reappearing where they died, with King Cold missing one of his arms, and after looking around for a little bit, he soon finds it. Whereas Frieza is sort of just a pile of mush on the floor. Not fully, he's just that he got cut into 3 pieces because of the Destructo Disc, and the Spirit Bomb blew him up. He's not in very good shape. So after collecting up their leaders, they soon head off the planet. And after getting fully healed, the son and father have a bit of a reunion, and get caught up to everything thanks to the likes of the Ginyu Force. We soon go on to explain what has happened with the Saiyans over the years. With King Cold initially wanting to go and get revenge on them, he soon shuts up after hearing how much stronger they've gotten, with the King coming to the conclusion that they may have to train much like they did to defeat him. He goes on to explain to his son that he hopefully won't have to do a lot of training, but ideally they would do enough to be able to defeat the Saiyans. With Frieza being very against this idea for a while, but after a bit of convincing from his father, the son soon takes a liking to the idea of being hundreds of times stronger than he ever was. After all, he's already pretty strong, so imagine how much stronger he would be with a small bit of training. It's quite intriguing to Frieza. After all, he doesn't really have the same hatred he has for Goku. His hatred is probably more directed at Vegeta, who tricked him and got him killed. And he's also never seen a Super Saiyan, meaning that he doesn't really also have this understanding of how outmatched he is. So, for the most part, he's very much against the idea of training compared to his old self. However, he does agree to train. With the two training with one another for probably a few months, probably a month more than canon, so 5 months. With the Ginyu Force seeing this, they also take to the idea of training, where they train with one another, just to make sure they have some extra reinsurance, and to beef up the army after all. After their time of training, they finally head off, ready to invade on Earth. And this part goes kind of different. You see, much like normal, the likes of Goku and Vegeta are off training with the likes of Whis, Beerus' planet, which is probably going a lot better than it was in canon. Thanks to the like of Goku being there from the start of Vegeta's training, they have both been pushing each other very hard. They've probably come out of this a lot stronger than their canon counterparts, and probably have a bit of a better understanding of the blue state. Now, I'll get into them a bit more later, but I want to cover the fight on Earth, as I feel like there could be some interesting things happening here. Now, for the most part, when the invasion happens, a lot of the same Z fighters show up. However, it's probably a lot better for the group, and I'm going to go over who shows up for this fight. Now, we probably have the likes of Yamcha, Tien, Krillin, Roshi, Gohan, Jacko, Piccolo, Goten and Trunks, who have had a bit more battle experience in this timeline, and even Videl, who has been training with Gohan ever since the Buu saga. It's only been a bit of light-hearted training, but if you wanted to place her anywhere, she's probably a Namek saga level, and I would put her somewhere between the old Ginyu Force and Frieza, which isn't too unrealistic. She's had a few years of free time to train. She probably stopped for a little while when Pan was born, but other than that, she's been getting back into the flow of it. With Pan probably being left with the likes of Hercule. Now, with this much beefier team, we see a much easier fight for the first part of this battle, where the Z fighters fight off the Frieza soldiers. It's much easier thanks to the fact there's a lot more fighters, everyone is either a lot stronger, or has short breaths of being stronger thanks to some sort of technique. However, they don't really ever need to show any of their true power. Likes of Togama and Shisami probably are taken down during this part. After all, Togama was never used as a punching bag. He's probably just sort of a high-end soldier at this point. And Shisami sort of is the same situation, thanks to the fact that he never really did anything. And also, he was kind of taken down very easily by Gohan, who was much weaker in canon. And our Gohan here is a lot stronger. So we see everyone pretty easily destroy this first part of the battle, with the real battle beginning with the likes of the Ginyu Force, who are kind of super powered up now. Even the likes of Guldo is a lot stronger. The group unsure of what to do at this point. Gohan and Krillin do recognise some of the powers inside the ship. They understand at this point these two are a lot stronger than they're even letting on. With Gohan looking over to his wife and even Master Roshi and tell them to get out of here, they don't really have the power to keep up with this fight anymore. With Videl at first taking offence to this, but Master Roshi then explaining to the young girl that maybe she should take a second to sense what's going on inside that ship. And after a few seconds of sensing energy and sensing the true power of the Frost demons, she soon agrees to this and heads home, telling Gohan to kick their butts. With Gohan giving his wife a quick smirk as she flies off carrying Master Roshi away. Alongside this, Jacko realises he's in over his head and heads over to Bulma, who is also here like in canon and had tried calling Whis and Beerus to get Goku and Vegeta back, who are trying to get back at this current point in time. Now, there is just a few people Gohan isn't even sure about. With those three gone, Gohan even looks over to the kids, thinking about telling them to leave. However, the more he thinks about it, the more he realises that they might need the assistance of the younger Saiyans. With the likes of the Ginyu Force finally stepping out of the ship, they stand there menacingly for a while before dropping out into a signature pose of the Ginyu Force, taking everyone by surprise. But Jacko likes this. After all, Jacko's a bit of a poser. He enjoys this sort of stuff. And the Force are getting ready to fight. Much like they did on Namek, they want to fight sort of split off and in 1v1s, with Gohan sort of taking this to his advantage. He's sort of taken up the role of a leader here, so he's getting ready to try and counteract whatever they do, with Recoome and Guldo heading off to fight the group first. And after getting some small readings of their power, they are pretty confident in their ability to kill the group in front of them. However, King Cold does soon shout out the fact that this group can suppress their energy, with him and Frieza now appearing out of their ship, and Cold making eye contact with the likes of Krillin and stopping at Gohan before figuring out who he is, and explaining how, oh, this is a son of a Saiyan. Please don't brutalise this one too much, and be careful, he's a Super Saiyan. He could cause some damage. And he soon goes on to ask Gohan where his father is, with Bulma shouting out from the background saying how both Goku and Vegeta are on their way, so they should just leave before they get their butts kicked. Frieza, hearing the name of Vegeta, gets visibly pissed off. Alongside this, hearing about Goku does make King Cold flinch and feel a bit uneasy, with the pair clearly having a bit of differences on the view of the Saiyans. Frieza is heavily underestimating them, and King Cold is very over-predicting them. So it's sort of a weird moment for them. However, they do tell the group that they won't be getting involved. The Ginyu Force are probably more than enough to handle you. And I didn't really know where to place the Ginyu Force, I'll be honest with you. It's sort of weird. They were training with one another. They've probably got stronger over the years. They are probably, arguably, maybe Buu Saga level threats. It's just sort of something I took into consideration. We don't really understand the potential of all of them here. And that seemed like a fair outcome to place them at. And with this, I'm gonna start this battle. Now, first up, like I said, Guldo and Recoome are coming out the group. With Tien being pretty confident in his abilities, he heads out, heading towards Guldo and Recoome, with him appearing behind Recoome, landing a hit on his neck. However, Tien was heavily underestimating his opponent. Recoome seems to be a lot stronger than he's even letting on. He hits the big guy in the neck, and even though he does move Recoome across the floor very heavily, Recoome sort of tanks it, grabbing hold of Tien's leg and smashing the warrior into the ground. Guldo then, who can now hold his breath much longer, does so and kicks Tien in the face, sending the warrior flying backwards, with the likes of Yamcha catching his friend. With Tien getting back up and getting back into a fighting stance, Yamcha and Krillin join him, with Gohan happy to see that these three are about to start working together to take these two down. Yamcha explaining how he'll deal with the small one if that's what they want to do. And Krillin and Tien happy to hear this. After all, they can tell Recoom's quite strong, and he's definitely the stronger out of the two. So leaving Yamcha to deal with the much weaker one would probably be the safest bet. With Tien and Yamcha turning on their Kaioken, with this being their times 20, and Krillin then grabbing hold of Tien before putting his hands on his forehead, and then appearing in front of Recoome with Tien, hitting Recoome straight in the gut, winding the big oath before Krillin suddenly appears behind Recoome, and thanks to the fact that he's already responding to an attack from Tien which hurt, Krillin kicks Recoome, sending him flying forwards. And while he's in the air, Tien doesn't waste any time. He forms up a tri-beam hand sign, jumps up to his Kaioken times 30, and for one big hit he leaves Recoome in a bloody smoking heap. He isn't dead, he's just in no condition to be fighting right now. Tien and Krillin didn't want to waste any time with this fight, so they got it over and done with as fast as they could. Over with Yamcha, he flies straight towards the likes of Guldo, who happens to avoid the attack thanks to his time control. He appears under Yamcha, punching him in the gut, with Yamcha going to knee Guldo in the face for this. However, just before impact does happen, Guldo holds his breath and dodges the attack again, with Yamcha attack yet again hitting thin air. With the warrior turning his body to blast Guldo, the alien once again dodges this with his time powers. However, when he appears a bit in front of Yamcha, luckily the bandit grabs hold of Guldo's shirt, holding it tight just to make sure the alien can't slip away, With a bit of a cheeky smirk, he punches the alien once in the face, knocking out Guldo. With the three Earthlings happy that this went so smoothly, they are soon interrupted by the likes of Jason Berta, who are pretty pissed off their friends just got beat so badly. They begin to fly at the Earthlings. Using some sort of combination attack. However, just before making impact with the three unready Earthlings, two golden auras appear in front of them, with Goten and Trunks flying out in front, taking this fight very light-heartedly, explaining how they're the best duo fighters ever to exist, so these two morons better just leave. With Jason Berta taking offence to this, the two Ginyu Force members begin to fight with the two Saiyan hybrids, with the hybrids at first struggling. After all, they don't really understand the power the Ginyu Force have. After all, they've not really ever been in a true fight other than the ones they had with Babidi's minions and Boo, but they weren't really even involved in the fight with Boo. However, once the two start taking the fight much more seriously, they're much easier opponents, and eventually it leads to Goten and Trunks very easily destroying the likes of Jason Berta, not killing them yet again. No Ginyu Force members have been killed in the making of this video. I can't say they haven't been harmed, they have probably been really badly bruised and beaten. With the two kids happy they won this fight, they jump out of their Super Saiyan forms, clearly having been beaten quite a bit. They have bruise marks and a few scuff marks on their clothes. It's clear that they weren't doing too well. And after they'd managed to knock out the Red Magma and the Bluebird, the two hybrids give a little fist bump before heading back to their team. With King Cold having a bit of a PTSD flashback when he fought Goku. After all, Goten looks just like him, so he's kind of scared of Goten right now, which is kind of funny to think about. Now, after this is done, Ginyu's sort of interested in taking one of these bodies. These bodies are stronger than his, and he likes the thought of having a strong body to get into. And once he steps down, getting ready to fight, Gohan is almost wanting to step in to fight him. However, Piccolo soon flies straight towards Ginyu, throwing his weighted clothing at the alien, taking him off guard with Ginyu pushing the gear to the side with ease. After all, it's not that heavy. However, once he can clearly see Piccolo moving, all he sees is a deep red blood leg hitting him in the face, sending him flying backwards and almost completely knocking out the alien. However, before Ginyu even gets a chance to do anything, Piccolo charges up a ki blast and sends it flying towards the captain. With this finishing the job, this is the first Ginyu Force member killed in the making of this video. I do apologise. Piccolo goes on to explain how he didn't want to waste too much time and Gohan is their best fighter right now, currently. Piccolo understands that he is the strongest here, but in terms of lasting a fight out, Gohan is probably the safest bet. After all, Piccolo has to rely on the Kaioken. It's just not a safe bet at the end of the day. So they do begin to try and get ready to fight the Frost Demons, with Piccolo also explaining how he had a bit of a bad feeling about Ginyu. He looked a bit dodgy. Now, thanks to this, a lot of the guys here have saved up a lot of their energy, with Gohan knowing that they need to get ready to fight with these big threats. With King Cold and Frieza stepping out of their pods and starting to show off a bit of their power, with Frieza staying in his minimal form for the moment, and King Cold just getting ready to brawl with Gohan. After all, he's the one he wants to get a bit of revenge on. Last time they fought, he was kind of easy to kill. Let's see if he's just as easy to kill this time. With Gohan explaining how from their last fight, he knows King Cold is the stronger of the two, and he goes on to explain where he wants everyone to be fighting. He gives a quick rundown alongside Krillin, explaining how King Cold right now is the stronger of the two, and he understands that the weaker one can actually transform, so it's probably best to get him out of the way as fast as possible. After all, if he can transform to a strength beyond that of King Cold, it will put everyone in a bit of trouble. Now, they do understand that King Cold is going to take a lot more firepower to put down as well, and for the most part, he just wants to play safe until Goku and Vegeta arrive. With everyone understanding this, they all power up with the hybrid Saiyans heading off towards King Cold. This is the safest bet. Overall, the hybrid Saiyans probably have a stronger collective power than the likes of Piccolo and the Earthlings. Even though Piccolo is the strongest fighter currently, he just hasn't got the potential to outlast a fight. And also, he probably will be able to put down Frieza relatively fast, and the Earthlings are more there just for the assistance. Now, for the most part, I'm going to cover a little bit of these fights, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's very much against our team. You see, the Frost Demons are a lot stronger, thanks to the fact they were training with one another, and the fact they trained a bit longer. So this sort of is a slaughtering. At the start, both Goten, Trunks, and Gohan was holding off Cold mildly. Thanks to the fact Gohan is using a Super Saiyan 2 state and Goten and Trunks have great synergy and are using the Super Saiyan state, it was kind of pushing back the King. Thanks to the fact that Goten also sort of looks like Goku in the Super Saiyan form, it was sort of helping in the mental warfare side. However, once the King starts to show off a bit more of his power, it begins to become clear that the three are beginning to lose quite a bit of ground. Gohan is carrying this team here, and the reason they're losing so much ground is thanks to the fact that Goten and Trunks are still quite inexperienced fighters, and this begins to show as the fight goes on more and more and more. King Cold keeps increasing his power, and the two are beginning to get a bit frightened, making stupid mistakes, and for the most part they're just getting really scared. They're kids at the end of the day. But luckily Gohan is quite an experienced veteran when it comes down to it, and he is covering the small mistakes they make with his own experiences. However, the oldest Hybrid Saiyan hasn't got the power to keep up with Cold's ever-increasing power, and soon he begins to effortlessly beat Gohan and the two young kids, to the point where it becomes clear that they will not be winning this fight with King Cold. And soon the King does get bored, and he knocks away the three hybrids, and begins to charge up a Death Beam. The one person he wants to kill right now, the one person he looks forward to killing right now, is Goten. He's annoyed him this entire time, looking like Goku, and he just wants to get rid of him. And it also gets rid of this small bit of fear Cold has for him right now. But when the beam is shot, Goten doesn't feel the impact. Luckily, Gohan took the attack for his younger brother, and it's sort of reminiscent of how Piccolo took the attack for him years ago, with Gohan now having a hole in his chest, but stands there just for a few minutes, turning around to make sure his younger brother and Trunks are okay. With Goten and Trunks finally understanding that this is a fight for life and death truly, making the kids panic even more, and Gohan, who is hardly standing, is grabbed by Goten, who is trying to help his older brother grip to life. But Gohan just stands there smiling, trying to keep his younger brother and Trunks from panicking, explaining how their dads will soon be here, with Gohan just about to slip away into the other world. He's saved by a bold midget who forces the sensory beam down the young Saiyan's mouth, with the hole kind of repairing kind of incredibly, and also Gohan getting back up to his feet, gripping where the hole in his chest used to be, and Goten so happy to see his brother's alright. Krillin gives a bit of a smirk and a chuckle, saying, "That was a close one, Gohan. Chi-Chi would have killed me if I let you die," sort of trying to lighten the moment, even though there's a very deadly and very vicious King Cold not too far away from them. With Gohan and Krillin being happy that everything turned out alright, sort of, for the most part, with Gohan looking over to Frieza, seeing that he looks much taller and much more scary than he was before, with Krillin explaining how they were actually winning against him for a good while, but then he changed into whatever the flip this form is and began to outpower everyone, with Piccolo being the only one who's able to really keep up, thanks to his Kaioken. However, it's beginning to get more clear that Piccolo is struggling with this fight. The only reason King Cold hasn't intercepted, may I just ask, is Piccolo has sort of been using Frieza in any opportunity he can as sort of just a frisbee. He's throwing him at King Cold just to keep his attention up a little bit, with Gohan looking over towards the likes of Tien and his younger brother and Trunks, who is getting healed by Tien, and Yamcha standing by ready to jump in to help Piccolo, who's already been healed a bit. Now, like I said, King Cold's being sort of distracted by Piccolo. Piccolo, like I said, is the strongest person here. However, it's only for brief moments at a time, and it doesn't really last long for a fight. So he's beginning to, tire out, and visibly he's weakening. With King Cold finally getting to look back to the group, trying to see what happened with that Saiyan he just shot at. With him seeing that Gohan's now back up, and he looked kind of pissed off. With the King annoyed at this, he does get ready to shoot another one. However, Gohan turns back up to him. After getting a Zenkai, Gohan jumps up to his Super Saiyan 2 form, explaining how The others need to go help Piccolo. He's going to hold off Cold by himself. With everyone looking towards him thinking this is crazy. However, Gohan's really wagering on the fact that his Zenkai would lead him to be able to hold off King Cold a bit better. Goten looks worried, with Gohan telling his brother it's fine, and looks over to Trunks telling them that they're both doing great, just get ready to fight for a little bit more, just to buy their dads a little bit more time to arrive, with Gohan looking towards King Cold, getting ready to fight. However, once Gohan fully charges up to his max power, two people appear, with Goku breaking this very intense moment with, "I'm sorry we're late." And everyone looks so happy to see them, with Frieza knocking Piccolo away finally, and just getting super pissed off that this Namekian was even bothering him, trying to shoot a death beam at him. However, Piccolo is saved by the likes of Vegeta, with Goku, like I said, apologising for not arriving sooner. They were just having a bit of a hard time finding a key to lock onto. Once Gohan transformed, they were able to find him right away. He got a good read finally. And Gohan is now thanking the heavens that he transformed when he did, with Tien heading over to heal the likes of Piccolo, who burst out saying how it took them way too long this time. With Vegeta not interested in this interaction, normally he would have a little bit of banter here, but he's now more interested in the monster who managed to crawl out of hell, looking up to Frieza and visibly shouting out, "The cockroach managed to crawl out of hell then." With this making Frieza laugh, and saying how he's happy that the prince is here, now he can finally kill him for tricking him all those years ago. Also going on to explain how it's kind of funny that he'll get to kill two royals of the same bloodline, with this obviously being implied that he managed to kill, King Vegeta years ago. And this strikes a mild nerve with Vegeta, however he remains calm and looks over to Kakarot, telling him that he wants to fight Frieza. Well, Goku's saying that's fine, he's wondering how much stronger the king got anyway. And with that, the four fighters face off with one another, with Frieza jumping up to his final form, showing off how much stronger he's got, with Vegeta responding by showing off his Super Saiyan form, making the two equal, if not Goku and Vegeta being above in their Super Saiyan form. Now, the reason they've had to jump up to their Super Saiyan forms is, like I've said, both Frost Demons are much stronger here, meaning that Goku and Vegeta, even though they're stronger, probably have to jump up to their Super Saiyan states to, outpace these two aliens. Now, there isn't much of time wasted here. Goku and King Cold do begin to fight, alongside the fact Frieza and Vegeta are going to fight, with the fight sort of happening around one another but never really interfering one another. Now, the King, thinking to himself to be strong enough to keep up with Super Saiyan Goku, it is soon made clear to him that both the Super Saiyans are outclassing them, and Vegeta is very heavily outclassing Frieza, not really wanting to waste too much time. And with this one-sided fight going on for a few more minutes, it's very clear that Goku and Vegeta would win this if the fight was to drag out like it was for too much longer. With Goku and Vegeta thinking how they probably should have stayed in their base, it might have been a bit more of an interesting fight. It soon leads to a point where all four fighters are near one another, and Goku and Vegeta have King Cold and Frieza back to back, with Goku and Vegeta shouting out to one another how it's kind of annoying that these two aren't showing off their true power, isn't it? Obviously knowing that these two are hiding something, assuming they are at least. With King Cold saying to Frieza, it might be time to put these monkeys in their place, with both of them obviously transforming into the golden form. Frieza isn't really doing this out of, to be arrogant, not to show off the fact he hates Super Saiyan. It's more that he just thought the colours looked very good and suited him. And King Cold is doing it much like Frieza did in canon, with this form probably being much more mastered than it was in canon, meaning that they can probably hold it out for a lot longer. With Goku and Vegeta being really impressed with this power, and all the Dragon Team being scared, thinking that the God form might not be enough to stop this. However, when they look towards each other to make a small conversation, they soon feel the power of Goku and Vegeta start to push them backwards, with the duo showing off their power of the Super Saiyan Blue forms, with them still being kind of behind Golden, King Cold and Frieza. They do think it's winnable, and they're actually kind of looking forward to this fight. With the true battle beginning, the battle between Vegeta and Frieza goes kind of like Goku and Frieza's fight from canon, and it's probably a bit more in Frieza's favour here. However, Vegeta is keeping up with Frieza thanks to the fact he knows a few awkward techniques, and he can just do some fun things anyway. And also, he does notice the weakness of the form, with it being very draining. So, even though it's not as bad as canon, it's still very noticeable, with Vegeta knowing he only needs to drag the fight out for a little while. Now over with King Cold and Goku, Goku is holding off King Cold. However, the hits that Cold land on Goku are leaving a lot of damage, and it's clear that Goku is struggling. However, thanks to his martial arts skills and in combination with instant transmission, it just sort of means Goku can sort of teleport around, jabbing King Cold and dodging him. He does land a few good hits, however, after a while, King Cold does sort of figure out the pattern and begins to predict where Goku's coming. Now, for a while this battle goes on, and it's eventually cut off by the arrival of Beerus and Whis, which, may I just say, scares King Cold to his core. Frieza is also kind of nervous, but this interaction sort of goes like it does in canon. However, Beerus is very impressed with the fact that King Cold has managed to grow so strong. The old man should have trained years ago, with this sort of striking a nerve with Cold, but however, that is the god of destruction, so he will just leave it be. With the two gods being so interested in their ice cream, they promise that they won't interfere, and just get on with watching the battle and eating their food. Now, while this battle is probably very much in King Cold and Frieza's favour, eventually their powers are beginning to drop very heavily, and eventually this does lead to the two aliens landing hits on the Saiyans, which don't make them budge, with Goku and Vegeta knocking the likes of King Cold and Frieza into the sky, and Vegeta sort of doing it a lot more violently than Goku did, with the father and son finally falling out of their golden states, with the pair kind of panicking now. Goku and Vegeta go on to explain how they were too confident with their new form, thinking that these two wouldn't have grown. They just came here after getting a small bit of training in the form. They probably should have mastered it. They probably might have won at that point. However, it was their own mistakes, and eventually the form was just too much for them to hold. And Goku and Vegeta now have pretty much won. Vegeta has a bit of a moment like Vegeta would, then fires off a big bang, ending this fight and ending this part. Now, like I said, this part's done, and this end part doesn't seem that great. I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure people are expecting this big, epic fight between King Cold, Frieza, Goku, Vegeta, but in my opinion, it wouldn't end up like that. People aren't probably watching this bit, but I'm going to give my explanation, and if you are, let me know in the comments. But even though Frieza and King Cold trained together and for a bit longer, Goku and Vegeta have been training with Whis for much longer. Well, Goku anyway. Goku's been training from when Vegeta originally started training in canon. They also got an extra month alongside this. And on top of that, they are very much stronger than their canon counterparts. They were stronger than their canon counterparts when they started the training. These two have had a head start from the get-go. So it's pretty hard for me to see Frieza and King Cold managing to jump past them enough. If there was a big enough difference, I would have had this big epic fight where I probably choreographed it very nicely. Well, I would have tried to anyway, and given quite a lot of detail, but I just don't see it happening. I don't think they would have the idea to, master the form, so I don't think that was possible. And initially, when I thought about this, I did think that it would be this incredible fight where I'd have to do a two-parter or something like that, but it just wasn't. Frieza and King Cold were very threatening, of course, but because Frieza hadn't encountered the legendary Super Saiyan, he was less likely to want to train. So it would be Cold pushing them to train, and once Cold is convinced that him and his train have trained quite enough, it probably would lead to them stopping training. I do believe King Cold would try and master the form a little bit, but I just think the Z fighters here are so much stronger than their canon counterparts, it was very unlikely they won this regardless. And now I've had my small little rant, and I do apologise. Like I said, when I originally started writing this part, I thought it would be very much in the favour of King Cold and Frieza, but it really wasn't. It was just so difficult for me to figure out how to do it. I thought maybe the Ginyu Force would cause a lot more impact, but I just don't see them getting too strong. They probably even might have lost Guldo at some point throughout the years, but I just wanted Guldo around. He's kind of cool, I guess. And it's really difficult for me to even say. I'm not going to lie. I'm worried people might not enjoy this part because there's not this incredible fight at the end. That's sort of why I'm over-explaining myself now. But 9 times out of 10, I say this scenario goes in favour of the Z fighters. Probably a few people should have died. But at the same time, I think they just had too much possibility to live that it was near impossible for them to die. But anyway, I'm done with my rant now, truly. I do apologise. I hope everyone enjoyed this part, and thank you for some of the what if suggestions I got for my last part. I actually liked some of them. Some of them I had sort of brainstormed a little bit, and I might start a new one soon. However, I do hope people enjoyed this part, and I just want to say thank you all for watching. Thank you for getting me 800 subs. Hope you have a great day or a good night, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, guys.